Hello and welcome to The Exchange. The design of what we're doing today is really to share ideas, to share vision. I'm thrilled that the three people that I've got with me, I know them as friends, but I also know them to be dynamic, creative, and very much entrepreneurs. Before I dive into who we've got here, I do want to acknowledge that Stephen Malbon, who is definitively leading golf into beyond the 21st century, Jon Buscemi, I mean, look at him. Look at him. It's just beautiful. So Jon Buscemi is not only an entrepreneur, but also very creative in the design world, both from footwear, bags, and a hot sauce that we're going to talk about that is off the hook. And then we've got my dear friend, Mark Werts. Mark Werts, CEO of American Rag, a dear friend for 20 years. But then the X factor that I really want to talk about as well is this consciousness of genius. And I look at these three guys as geniuses in what they do. Am I on point or off point, or do you just not care as you move your agenda forward in terms of what's gotten you to where you are today? How do you deal with that?
Well, I think from very early on, I was kind of, I didn't pay attention to authority for forever, never. There was not one breath. Well, if we start from the beginning, I mean,
it's like, you were real good at school.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. This is the funniest part. I was like in detention, but had straight A's in elementary school.
So did that give you kind of creative license? Say, listen, I can do this if I want to. I can flip the switch when I need it, and when I don't.
So I went to college and hated it.
Yeah.
I played lacrosse.
Did you finish college?
I did not finish college. I was in college for 2 years. I went on academic probation because I never went to class. But anyway, I dropped out of school, or I was politely asked to leave.
Okay.
So it's the summer of 1993. I'm in Long Island, and it's August, and I have no job. And everyone's going back to school. It's the last party of the summer, my friend Eric's house. And literally, this kid Andre, the dumbest person in my high school, literally the dumbest person probably in New York history, rolls up into the front of the party in a silver F355 Spider Ferrari. And the whole party just is like,
how did dipshit get that?
Exactly. How does fucking this guy get this car?
Right.
And I played the background. I was with a few of my friends, and I didn't say shit until like literally it was like 3 a.m. No one's left, and he's like kind of like walking back out to his car. I'm like, what's up, man? I said, what's going on? He's going, dropped out of college, started to work. I'm working for a friend of mine on Wall Street. I said, cool. I'm not going back next year either. I'm looking for a job. He goes, you're looking for a job? Well, we're hiring. And I'm like, you're hiring. I don't have a job and you have a Ferrari.
Right.
So, okay. Literally, that's Saturday. Monday morning, I had to get a suit. I went to New York City, 10 Wall Street, to this brokerage firm. There's 150 guys going apeshit on telephones. I walk in. The woman's name is Adrian. I do an interview. This is the interview. She goes, this is going to be short. If I told you to shovel shit against this wall for a year and you'd be a millionaire, would you do it? I said, yes. She said, sign here, you start tomorrow. That's a fact. That's a fucking true story.
What year is this?
1993.
Okay. Yeah.
Right at the beginning.
Right.
Did you have to shovel shit into the
So I shoveled shit for a year, literally. I made 500 phone calls a day and got one person on the phone and to say, hey, hi, I'm Jon Buscemi. I'm from Kensington Wells. Can I have my senior broker call you back for an idea if you're interested? A year later, I didn't make $1 million. I made like $400,000 at 23 years old.
So how does that transition then to what you're doing, where you can get $500 to $800 for a pair of sneakers?
Okay. Since I was like age 8, I started collecting sneakers. So the market crashed. I said, what the fuck am I going to do? Someone said, do something you love, never work a day in your life.
Right.
I heard that in 1999.
Right.
So that's like real. I mean, you hear that shit all the time.
Right.
But I heard that and I said, all right, cool. So I said, I'm going to use all my friends' power in the skateboard industry and try and get a job in skateboarding.
Okay.
So to make a long story short, I basically hustled my way into being a junior designer at DC Shoes. I knew more about sneakers than anybody in that building. There's 200 employees. I knew the most about sneakers, and within the first 6 months, I helped design one of their most lucrative sneakers of all time.
So it takes balls to step in as the new kid on the block and say, you may not have said it this way, but I know more than you do. Is there a courage moment there where you just go, fuck it, I just got to do this?
That's exactly how I said it. I know way more than you fucking idiots.
I
I
said
came
it to
from
them.
New York, you're in fucking Orange County, you don't collect sneakers. I'm a sneaker god.
100%. I'd be in boardroom. I was in boardrooms my first 3 months.
Yeah.
And I literally walked out of a boardroom like perfect. I planned it. I said, I'm just going to walk out on this meeting.
Before you even walked in, the intention is at some point.
My intention was
Yeah.
everyone in this building needs to be fired,
Right.
Because they're doing a disservice to the owners of this company, the owners of the company that hired me. They said, we want you to like show these people about sneakers, like what's happening
So they
now.
whoever that person was, gave you permission,
Yeah,
license to be you.
No.
Okay.
They didn't know
I
that's what
pushed
happened.
that too far.
I think they hired me to do that, but they didn't hire me to be like this like brat, right? But I did it and it worked. And I got the attention of the design director, and then boom, things start to happen.
So did you think before you said, okay, I'm gonna at some strategic moment, I'm walking out of this room, what if this doesn't work?
My whole intention is just to piss people off and make things happen.
If someone's good at what they do you have respect for them to beyond what you think about their personality?
No, I just steamroll people that don't know what they're doing.
But if someone does know what they're doing, how do you play
they're
to
on
that?
my team for life.
Yeah.
I mean, they're no. If someone knows what they're doing, I want them on the team.
Right.
But when you work in a corporate environment and you're thrown into 200 people,
Trust me, I
and you know
understand.
10 of them that don't know what they're doing,
Right.
I tell them to their face,
Yeah.
you fucking suck.
Right.
And you don't know what you're doing. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
If you want me to help you,
Right.
I offer help.
So there's the get out of jail free
Yeah,
card.
there's a jail. Yeah. But I
Okay.
have to. If you don't tell someone that they're not doing something correctly, or bring it to light that these people could do it much better,
Yeah.
then you're just they're doing them a disservice.
Well, I agree. Yeah, if you sit on your hands, that's true. And how long have you been playing with this, the whole concept and execution of Malbon Golf at this point?
I started a magazine in art school when I was like 20 years old. I got hired by an ad agency about the exact same time as an art director. And that's where I learned how to go to Coca-Cola and HBO and Tanqueray and different brands that the agency worked where I worked, and come up with it. You hear what the Coca-Cola has an issue. It's this. So how can we help them? And they have $1 million. So that's a pretty fun thing to be able to sit with a sketch pad and a joint and start figuring out ideas. And what starts as a sketch pad then gets put into a one sheet, and then gets put into a deck, then you practice pitching 5 times, and then you go into Coca-Cola and there's 10 people in a boardroom and you stand up and say, this idea is gonna be fucking great because, XYZ, and then they actually buy it. And the margins are what the margins are, and it's $1 million project, and it's like, holy shit, I just made 300 grand for this company by basically sketching out a little teeny idea, and then use a 2-week process of turning it from a sketch to a deck and a presentation, and then they call a week later and say, hey, we loved it, we're gonna do it. It's like, we actually have 1.5 million. It's like, holy fuck. So I was really young and I learned that. And then I moved to New York and started doing it on my own and eventually. And I did all of that through publishing and media and events, etc. And so taking that lifestyle, art, fashion, graffiti, weirdo shit, that's how I was trained doing it. So now doing it in the golf industry, it's very similar. You have to work with certain brands. There's certain brands that want to be in golf. There's different brands that want to be in golf than want to be in, roller skating, right? It's each brand has their own situation. So the golf brands where I worked at the first thing, I worked more with, Hypebeast and Scion and Toyota, like cars made for young people that don't have a ton of money. Now in the golf world, it's BMW and Rolex over Casio, G-Shock, and Swatch. So it just changes the the brands that you can tap into, and obviously the audience isn't that much different though. So it's not like I'm making content for normal golfers. We're still making really fun, cool content and trying to make it for people that, we want to see it a certain way in an area that it's very hard to see golf in a different way when it's been a certain way for so long.
Right.
So the whole refreshing part of what we're doing, and I think why, the world is open to it and being supportive from corporate brands to international, et cetera. I think that all comes from just the point of view that we have is different than anyone else's point of view. And if people like what we're doing, then that's just lucky on our end, because if you get dressed in the morning, you put an outfit on and you go outside, you look in the mirror, you go, I look fucking great. And you go outside and everyone says, hey, you look great today. Hey, you look great today. It's like, that's just your luck, right? Like, you dressed for yourself, and if everybody else thinks you look great too, then bravo. But at the same time, I could dress my whole outfit and go outside and everyone says, wow, how the fuck are you wearing that?
Right.
Like, what did you wear? How did you do that?
Mark's outfit last night?
No, I liked it. It's
it was unique.
It was very on brand.
Yeah.
It was good.
Right. So Mark Werts, you had the foresight to buy bales of clothing and ferret through for the gems and repurpose them and sell them in a secondary market. I bastardized this.
I always saw you as a ferret.
A clothing ferret. But I mean, you saw something there in each instance, and I can share my story too, but it's looking at a specific playing field and saying, there's another way to play this game. Got it. Okay, so continue.
No, I was just saying that I met a very unusual person in a diner in Queens, and the story's far too long for this, and I'll just cut it real short. The guy at the end of a 2-hour meeting, he was 32 years old, had a huge diamond ring, sort of a pompadour haircut. He spoke Queens, and he looked at me.
How do you speak Queens? He's just talking like this? Okay, sorry, but
and he was eating French fries and a Diet Coke, and he was a big guy, and he was in the used clothing business. And I didn't know anything about the used clothing business except that my multi-gazillionaire roommate at USC, when we went to a fraternity party, would go to Goodwill and put on a used suit, and I thought the suits were cool. That's all. So that was my only impression about used clothing. I didn't know. I worked at Price Waterhouse, so I didn't know anything about used clothing. So this guy said to me, he says, "How much money do you have?" And I said, "I got $21,000." He said, "If you give me 30% of the $21,000, I'll make you rich."
$7,000.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm in. This is 1971, dude.
Well,
yeah, this is a long time ago. $7,000 with
How'd you have 21,000?
My father had a life insurance policy that I cashed in, and I married well.
You had a life insurance
I think
policy?
I had $7,000 or $8,000 in an insurance policy, and she had $14,000. So
you parlayed.
We parlayed, put that together. We were living in a room in Amsterdam at the time, and I was going to start a business.
You had a full head of hair at that time too.
It was down to here.
Yeah.
And anyway, long story short, I flew back, and I'd said to my wife, who was from Orange County, but I met her in Lausanne, Switzerland, and I said, I married this guy with a kind of a pompadour haircut, a huge diamond ring, and a cigar from Queens, and he told me that we give him 30% of all our money, he'd make me rich. And she looked at me and said, "What the fuck have you been smoking?" And I said, "Oh, I get it. But he's going to be in Amsterdam in Paris next week. We'll drive down and we'll meet him, and he's got a used clothing warehouse there, and I'll take a look at it, and you take a look, and if you don't feel comfortable, we won't do it." So the guy finally shows up, takes us to a French diner, a bistro, in the morning at the Lyon Gare de Lyon train station.
Do you remember what you had for the meal?
Huh?
Could you tell us what you ate?
Oof.
Anyway, long story short, that was the used clothing business. The guy was like the heroin dealer. He sent me nothing but good stuff. I sold it all, and then I came back.
I listened to your stories, and I think about it from myself. And I've been negotiating for 30 years. And I came to Los Angeles to be an actor, and from New York. And my uncle George Segal was doing very well, and I came to live in his guest house. I didn't know anything. I hadn't been trained in really economics or business in any form of fashion. But what I realized was when I was doing a commercial for Hostess pudding pies, we had done vanilla and then we got brought back for chocolate. So I was considering that grand success at that time.
What year was this?
This is 1984, 85.
And you were on TV?
I was on TV, and I was in a movie called Shopping Mall, where shopping costs an arm and a leg. It's actually in the 80s called Classic now. But neither here nor there. So the idea of negotiation came to me because I was doing this commercial for Hostess Pudding Pies, and the guy that I was doing the commercial with, he was an actor. He also, he was in real estate. And so I said, what's real estate? And he goes, well, you show people houses and you sell them houses. So 30 years later, I grow to not only build and sell two businesses, but I really realized, and one of the reasons why we're here today, and what really excites me in the next phase of my life, is this idea that I negotiated 30 years of deals, but I didn't negotiate deals. I negotiated people. But now when I consider, I did it from I would consider a very genteel perspective, as opposed to pissing everybody off. But again, there's so many ways to get there, right? I mean, what I get from each one of us is the authenticity to do it. I mean, you're of a similar mind. I think all three of you are cut from a similar cloth, where you'll say... It's a different
industry, though, too. I mean, the fashion industry, where I was, and even when I worked at Oliver Peoples after DC Shoes.
Yeah.
You have people that are just like, these are companies that are like decades in the making that can't understand this new way of thinking, and you have to like hit them over. You have to light a bomb off to get people's attention. You can't be like, hey, so we should just like do this.
Yeah.
And they're like,
there's got to be a convergent moment.
No, there has to be. I think the success in my life has always been lighting up like the dynamite.
Mm-hmm. I enjoy that too.
Yeah.
I think going back to what Stephen said, when you asked him about, like when you put the whole U.S. Open week together, what were the difficulties? The difficulty was fucking getting paid, right? So I think that the creative juices are sparked from survival instincts. That's right. And for example, right before the Great Recession of 2008, for 20 years there was a building next to me, and the guy failed right into that recession. And so, business, the lights had turned off. We were down 40% in sales. It was a total disaster. The landlord calls me up and says, "I'm giving you a building next door, and you have to tell me like." In a week, whether you want to lease this building, otherwise I'm putting it on the market." And I said, "I'll lease it." And then I hung up the phone and I said, "Oh fuck!
How the fuck am I going to figure this out?"
What did I just do? So really quickly, I knew that one, denim was forever for the next 250 years. Two, I thought if I got Polo and Levi's to lease and made a store built around the 25 best brands in the world, that I could get it done on consignment, because everybody would want to be one of the best 25 brands in the world. So I had to convince Levi's and Polo to deliver me on consignment, which wasn't the standard of the industry at all. I did it. And then I went to all the jeans manufacturers and I said, "I'm opening a store with the best 25 brands of the world, led by Polo and Levi's." And they said, "Oh, I'll take it." I said, "Yeah, but it's a consignment deal." "Oh, we don't sell on consignment." I said, then you
don't sell here.
You won't sell here, because that's the business model. But I had no money.
Yeah.
So it was just frickin' survival. I had rented a building, and I had a quick rally.
That's the key word is survival, man.
But again, with survival comes great courage, because it could screw up. I mean,
no. There is. You don't care about courage. You got two little kids at home that got to eat. You're not going to go to their school and say, "I'll give you some courage."
Courage is the side. Courage is the result.
I mean, there are people in a puddle and they're in survival mode, but they don't do anything about it. They just stay there.
Yeah.
So there's a different shift when you're talking about.
No, you become courageous after you survive, right?
Well, I think that comes from my perspective.
No, there's a guy surviving in the puddle.
I had to listen to this. Listen to this.
But he's not
alive,
courageous.
but he's not doing anything.
But if he came out and became you.
Right.
Then you are courageous.
Well, I appreciate that. But the bottom line is there's got to be that choice. There's got to be that moment. I can't live like this anymore, right? It's not going to work. But I want to go back to your
thought. So you take risk.
Of course you take risk. Right. But that takes courage. But neither here nor there.
Or it takes, you only have one option. It's not courage.
Right, that's true. If there's only one
courage, it's like, what's your other fucking option? Right. Don't do the party and don't get the money?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not courage to wait.
Okay, fair enough. I want to go back to American Express for a second, and so.
Or anyone.
Sure, but the disconnect, right? What I think that we all are doing in our own ways is assessing a situation and saying there's a disconnect here, and I'm the vehicle to connect the dots.
Same as you selling a house. It's
Right.
like you have a journey to take them on. You have to ease all of their concerns.
Exactly
You have to
right.
get them in the beautiful dream they have.
Right.
So the CMO's dream is that young people give a fuck, and if they don't today, it's just a process that we go through together to get young people to care.
Yeah.
And once they care, then the numbers go up, and this guy gets a new job. It's awesome.
So where in all this is there an attachment to an outcome?
You can't have the fear of failure. You just can't. You just freaking go and
But doesn't it sneak in there once in a while?
Pardon me?
Doesn't it whisper
Yeah,
in your
when
ear
I
once in a
go in
while?
to hit a ball over a 200-yard fucking 4-iron over
Right.
a lake,
Right.
and I think, if I even look at the water, I go,
Right.
don't even fucking look at that water.
Right.
Just look back at the flag
Uh-huh.
and be an athlete.
So it's a concentration on the
That's it.
positive outcome.
I can't look at the bunker and this water and all this
It's about
bullshit. I'm going to
execution.
hit it in the water.
It's execution in the moment. What
Yeah,
you have
that's it.
control over.
But that skin that's built through failure doesn't
Yeah.
makes you not look at the water. You have to go through the journey of failure to not look at
Without
the water.
question. The learning happens when we fail. It's not when we get it right.
And going back to that question too, it's like,
Yeah.
you know, like using golf, like a golf manufacturer, right? Like someone who sells golf clubs, like they have massive overhead, they have a ton of people, they have sales that aren't where they want them to be. They have a lot of fucking problems, big problems. You know, I have a dozen employees and a brand that's doing good and tripling every year and everything is fucking great. So when I go talk to those people, it's like their problem isn't my problem. I'm just letting them know I can help their problem. And if they
Right.
don't want me to help it, it's like, well, fuck, go have fun.
Well, your solution. We're all solution oriented, right? When you design a new shoe, ideally you're capturing an audience that's never seen that before, right? You're giving them something they haven't seen, and that's the hook in many respects, isn't it?
I don't know if it's a solution, but I mean, I mean, my customer base is looking for new things because we're in fashion, right?
So that's what they're looking for, right? You become that solution. I mean, it's all vernacular, right? It's
Right.
whatever you want it to be. But it's really harnessing creativity in a way that packages something that they haven't seen before, right? Denim, World Denim Bar, no one had done what you did before. No one had even conceived of it. And isn't that the fun? Isn't that the genius of something?
Well, every manufacturer came in, they were, you know, you're a motherfucker. You just destroyed my business. You know, like I have to close because everybody wants everything on consignment because you did it on consignment. But I had no choice, and I didn't intentionally disrupt.
No, of course
the
not.
thing.
Of course not.
And
But you said disruption as well.
what you had to do.
I did what I had to do in order to frickin' the frickin' survive. That's it.
Right.
Period.
Right.